Hello, hello. Welcome to this edition of the Cancer Coach Talks. I'm your host, Leslie Nance, and tonight we're going to be talking about why we wouldn't want to relax. Why in the world wouldn't we want to take a moment to relax? It's a very important topic, and I am excited to share information with you guys tonight. Just really spending a little bit of time here, just kind of turning on some healing information that really helps us create a mindset around what our bodies are capable of and how we escort them in that direction towards healing. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Let me introduce myself super fast. Again, my name is Leslie Nance. I am the Cancer Coach the Cancer Coach. I come here on Tuesday nights, normally at 6 p.m., but tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. And just sharing this information with you. I am the founder of Any Stage Cancer Protocol and Any Stage Cancer Boss Program, which I have some clients that have been here, that have been in the program, that are joining us tonight, and some new faces as well. So welcome, everybody. If you're watching this in replay, if you're watching this on live with us tonight, if you're watching this on YouTube, wherever you're watching from, welcome. Please check out our website, anystagecancer.com. Make sure that you follow our pages, click subscribe to our YouTube page if this is where you're watching from. So anyway, so why wouldn't we want to relax, right? It seems like that would be like a natural state that we would want to be in, right? That we would want to feel relaxed. But there are cases and many times in our lives where we have some subconscious behavior that is standing in the way of us actually allowing ourselves to relax. And so when we think about that from a perspective of cancer, we think about cancer is is a fire hose, if you will, of worry and anxiety and stress. And it's super hard to relax when you're worried or you're anxious or you're stressed, right? And you find it hard, especially when there's a massive emergency. Sometimes we find it very difficult to slow down and to relax. And this can cause a chronic state that actually lowers immunity in our body. And it can even show up as severely this type of worry and anxiety and stress, especially thinking about a huge emergency when we think about like cancer. It can show up even as malnourishment in the body. In other words, being so worried or so stressed or have so much anxiety that we're not even able to eat. And so I want to explain exactly what I mean by that. When you are physically responding to worry, your brain and your body are preparing for action, right? You're basically all on guard, on guard. Right? Your body is signaling, hey, we have a problem. The brain is worrying and we need to get ready to take action. It's worried that it's going to be hurt. It's worried that something bad is going to happen. It feels like it's in danger. It feels like that there's something that is that is after us, if you will. And so that stimulates through hormonal processes that our adrenal glands produce, that stimulates our body to prepare for action. And when we are preparing for action, our body actually uses up a ton of nutrients and a ton of energy at a very accelerated rate to stay alert. And so here's what this can lead to. And I want to explain this sequence because I think this is really important to have this understanding. Because again, we're talking about the subconscious. Our conscious mind says, well, of course we want to relax. Of course I want to kick back and relax, right? But our subconscious mind goes, hold up, wait a minute. Wait just a second, because I'm not sure I'm ready for that. That's a big commitment to relax. Right? And so I'm not quite sure that I'm ready for this so-called relaxation that the conscious mind wants to participate in, right? It sounds great on paper, but I'm not sure it's right for me. I can just I imagine my brain having this conversation sometimes. And so what this leads to when it becomes a chronic state, and a chronic state means anything that's not fleeting, right? That, you swerve and miss a pothole on the road. That's very fleeting, right? You get a fleeting moment of oh crap, right? And that goes away very quickly. That stress goes, it dissipates very quickly. When I'm talking about chronic stress, I'm talking about stuff that lasts for days, weeks, months, years. That's the type of chronic stress. That's the things, those are the things that can really contribute to our overall health and actually the demise of our overall health. And when out of balance for too long, it can look like a sequence like this. You're worried, you have anxiety, you have stress, you're not getting enough sleep. Okay. This triggers a response in the body that you need to be alert. And so when we're alert, we don't sleep well. We've all experienced this, right? You have a worry and it keeps you up at night. That's your body on alert going, something bad could happen. We need to stay on alert. And if we sleep, we're not being on alert. And if we sleep, we better sleep very shallow. We couldn't get into that deep sleep. Okay. So this is the first thing that happens typically is that we're not getting enough sleep. And then when we don't get enough sleep, what happens is that that it actually lowers our appetite because our energy level plummets. And you'd think, well, when your energy level plummets, you'd want to eat more. But in a scenario like this, it actually messes with your appetite. Sometimes you can be so upset and so worried that you can't eat. If you're going to eat, you feel like you're going to throw up. Everybody knows, everybody's been there at some point in their life, right? You're so stressed that if you feel like you eat, that it's just going to come right back out. Okay. And so it lowers our appetite. It also makes it contributes to our poor decision making processes when it comes to food, when it comes to disease management, when it comes to drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes or whatever the vice is. We could make bad choices because we have this deprivation in the body, and it's stimulated. It stems from that huge amount of worry, and then that leads to this is where it really starts to lead to malnourishment. And I'm not talking about calories here. I'm not talking about you're going to lose a whole bunch of weight, although that can be a factor as well, especially if you have it so bad that you feel like you can't eat, that it makes you nauseous to eat. But I'm talking about you make bad decisions or you can't eat. And this can lead to malnourishment very, very quickly. Malnourishment is just not the lack of calories, okay? Malnourishment is not just the lack of food. It's actually the lack of nutrients that produce energy in your body, that sends chemical signals to the body to do what it's supposed to do. This can actually stimulate more stress in the body. And then all of a sudden you're in full blown physical, mental, and emotional emergency. Now, cancer is one of the number one things that can send us down that spiral. You hear your name and cancer in the same sentence, and they're talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. That starts a spiral of this very thing that I'm describing. And until we get a hold of it, we'll stay in that spiral. And even sometimes when we think we have a hold of it, we're still have things that keep us up at night. And so this puts your body at a disadvantage for energy, not just physical energy, but emotional energy, cellular energy, immune energy. When your body's in constant ready mode to fight or to flee, that drains your body of energy. So then this ends up lowering the immunity. And when we get a lowered immunity, we put ourselves at risk for, you guessed it, cancer. Now, this is one of the number one topics that I talk. You think that one of the number one topics that we talk about when I'm coaching somebody through the Cancer Boss program is nutrition, right? You think that's like it. That's what we're talking about. I can tell you that I talk more about this very thing that I'm describing to you than anything else. That is how important it is to healing. It's a big deal. This is a vicious cycle. And we feel like that we don't have any control through this process, through the diagnosis, through the treatment path, through what our doctors are saying, through how we feel, through the things that keep us up at night. And we're not talking about a flat tire here. We're talking about something that is potentially life-threatening. That is a whole new level of stress. Anytime our life is threatened or a loved one's life is threatened by anything, by a person, by a disease, by an accident, by whatever it is, this puts a full blown emergency in our physical, emotional, and spiritual body. We get tried on all levels. And if you're not ready for that trial, the shit can hit the fan really fast. You can be an oh shit really, really quick. So here's the kicker. Here's the kicker to all of this. We are sometimes very reluctant to try relaxation. And the main reason that people feel like they can't relax or like they don't want to take the opportunity to relax is because they are afraid of losing control of the situation. If I relax, somebody's going to take advantage of me. If I relax, I'm going to get sicker. If I relax, then my doctors they're not going to treat me right. If I relax, then people are going to think, what is wrong with you? You have cancer. You're supposed to be on guard all the time. There's about 100 reasons that I could come up with of why we are reluctant to relax in this process because we fear losing control. Now, this begs me to ask the question, how much control do you really have if you can't even take an opportunity to relax? We all know the answer to that, right? That's a big fat zero. No, you have no control. If you are so out of control that you can't even take a moment to relax, then you have no control at all. This cancer is fully bossing you around. Right? The truth is, learning to relax actually gives you more control, at least over yourself, actually, and no matter what the situation becomes. My husband was a race car driver. And if you drive down the highway with him, you would still say your husband is a race car driver. And so my husband is an amazing driver. Actually, he's taught driving for many, many years. And I mean race car driving at speeds. And when he talks about this, he talks to me all the time about control in a race and how that you must learn to control the adrenaline of going 180 miles per hour. How you have to learn to control your heart rate, how you have to learn to control your mind and your instincts. And he's always describing to me the very best drivers don't only just have skills in the car, they understand how to control their adrenaline rushes from racing. Now, this would be true with any type of extreme sport or any type of thing where you're taking a risk. Sometimes we get this temporarily, even when we're doing something as simple as like buying a car, buying a house, or deciding to have a baby, or deciding to move to another state or another country. Those aren't big, those are big things. Those aren't little things. But it can apply to the good things in our life as well, right? Depending on your risk tolerance in your life and where you perceive the threshold of risk depends on when you get that adrenaline rush or not. Another huge reason that we resist relaxation is because we've actually become addicted or conditioned to our stress responses. Now, when we hear the word addicted, we automatically go, wow, that's something negative, right? That's bad. You don't want to be addicted. But we do. We become addicted to our stress responses, or we are fully conditioned to them. In other words, we just expect them. We expect things are going to go wrong. We expect that this is going to be a really crappy day. We expect XYZ. We expect that this is what's going to happen in our journeys with cancer. And we condition ourselves to that stress response. Your stress hormones are actually a natural stimulant. They are made to alert you that there's danger. And when your adrenal glands, and it releases several kinds, not just cortisol, there are many types of stress hormones. When your body releases those stress hormones, it is telling the rest of your body that you better pay attention. Something ain't right here. And it can be a perceived danger or an actual danger. Okay? And so when we release that, and we have that in our body, we actually feel more powerful. It's the reason why a kid gets trapped underneath a car, and for some reason, and perfect strangers come over and can lift the car off the kid. It's the adrenaline rush that we get. It's the power, the surge that we have in the body, and that can actually become addictive. We can actually condition ourselves to crave that. Now, that's not a conscious effort. That is usually a subconscious choice that is being made. And believe me, by quieting the mind, you can actually control your subconscious as well as your conscious mind. This is why race car drivers and other extreme sports appeal to people who like risk, who like things on the edge, who have a high tolerance for risk. Me, I'm like a medium tolerance. I don't have a high tolerance for risk. I'm like a medium to low tolerance for risk. I'm not an adrenaline junkie. But you've heard this term, right? Adrenaline junkie? They get addicted. They can't get enough. They have to push further, farther, faster, higher. This can happen to us at a much more subconscious level. We get into the spiral of cancer, and it starts out of control, and it gets more and more out of control the further it gets down that spiral. We've got ourselves in a real pickle. And then it's really hard to pull ourselves out of that. At a subconscious level, we're addicted to that adrenaline. Our own adrenaline can be addictive. And when the effects fade, we want to experience it again. My husband would tell you as soon as he got out of a race car, he was ready to get right back in it. Now, sometimes physical conditions, because racing is it's an endurance sport, especially what he did. But as soon as he got out of that car and he was rested, let's do it again. I'm ready right now. Once we have a distinction in our mind that that rush is even slightly pleasurable, or makes us feel powerful, or makes us feel empowered, we will subconsciously seek it out. We get conditioned to it. And the more we get, the higher, the faster, the longer we want to go. Here's some examples of how this affects us subconsciously, so you guys can make a connection, because I know this is kind of like, it's a think piece. And so you need to make a connection. So let me give you some examples of that. I have many here. An example of this in the subconscious mind would be, you get a headache and automatically your imagination goes right to brain tumor. I have a headache. I must have a brain tumor. Or at least it crosses your mind. Or how about this? You have a sneeze, or you've been sneezing a lot, or you're congested, or you have a little dry cough, and you're like, oh my gosh, do I have COVID? Do you hear that? Do you hear that subconscious speaking up? You may not say it out with your mouth, but your subconscious automatically goes to that. We've conditioned ourselves. You have a little adrenaline, a little adrenaline rush when that happens. We get addicted to that. We're conditioned for that. It can also show up in different ways in our lives, however. How about this? It can show up in an overfilled schedule. If you overfill your schedule and you're constantly running late, it's a literal rush to the next event. I used to do this. I don't do this anymore. If I felt relevant, if my schedule was packed, if my schedule was packed and I was super busy and I just was in demand, then I was relevant. And that was an adrenaline rush for me and a little bit of an ego stroke as well. I've learned how to tame that. I've learned how to calm that, right? You routinely bite off more than you can chew, and you are frenetic just trying to do normal activities. This is kind of that schedule thing. But this could also apply to, volunteer work. This could apply to getting books buying too many books. This could be starting projects one after another, being addicted to that process and the brainstorming, but not following through with it. This could happen actually in your cancer journey as well. I am going to juice and I'm going to do supplements and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do my treatments and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and that. And we get ourselves into overwhelm so very quickly. And then we're frenetic just trying to do our normal life. This is very common. People that come to me have typically experienced this in spades. They've confused themselves. They've frustrated themselves to no end, trying to figure out what to do next. It can also show up as being a constantly striving for perfection, creating a competition with everything that you do. Everything is a competition with everybody that you're doing a thing with. You make a competition out of everything. It can show up that way. Taking everything personally, even when it has nothing to do with you, you take it personally. It's not anything you can control. It's not anything that you are even a part of, but you just somehow take it deep into your heart. This is going on a lot right now. People are getting super offended by people who are vaccinated and people who aren't. Who freaking cares? Stop trying to police people. Take care of yourself. Stop worrying about other people. You do what you think is right. But we try to cultivate this thing that has nothing to do with us. Things we can't even control. This is where you get addicted subconsciously to being upset, to being angry, to being frustrated. All of that raises the adrenaline in the body and all of your hormones associated with it. Keeping the news channel on, playing all day and all night. There's always news going. This used to be me. This is why I can say this out loud. All day, all night. I had TVs in every single room of my house so that I could see the news, so I would never miss a thing. This created a monster in me. Cynical, mean. Everybody's out to get me. Everybody's trying to screw me. Everybody sucks. That's the only thing that ever did for me. It did not keep me informed. It did not keep me safe. It did not keep me aware. It kept me stuck. Turn off the news, people. If it's big enough news, you're going to find out about it. If you need to know it, trust me, you're going to find out about it. Everything else is garbage. Stop filling your head with it. If you can't change it, listen when it's relative. Don't when it's not. Here's another thing. Imagining the worst case scenario possible. This is your subconscious conditioned or addicted to this rush. I'm going to think of every worst case scenario possible. Sometimes I ask my clients to do this so they can flesh out their brain. Tell me every worst case scenario possible with what you just told me. And they're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, let's hear it. Spit it out. Get it out of your subconscious. Any of these could give you ample opportunities for an adrenaline rush. And we get conditioned and addicted to them. And then when you add cancer on top of that, there's a frenzy. And you don't have the tools in place to control it. You don't have the muscle built to control it. So that gets royally out of control. Quick. And last but not least, there's the drama queen. This used to be me as well. No longer. The drama queen that will create a stressful situation just to get that adrenaline fix. Well, this isn't very stressful. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna create some drama. This is not a person that you want on your team. If you know somebody that is a drama queen or king or whatever person, you want to hold them at arm's length when it comes to your cancer diagnosis. That's my first tip, right? They're on a need to know basis. You tell them as minimal as possible or not anything at all, because they're going to amplify the dangers. You're going to get out of a conversation with them and you're going to surely feel like that this is it, like you're dying. And they're going to have judgment on everything that you are or aren't doing. It's not the person you want to lean into when you have something like cancer. These people are going to openly share their worries. They're going to openly share their worst fears freely with you. Not the person that you want to be sharing that deep information with. They're always in that, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. They're always in that mode. And guess what? They're trying to get you there with them. You have to be a strong person to stand up to this type of person. And they will turn the smallest, tiniest little things into some massive impending catastrophe. It's coming. Just wait. They just want you to be where they're at. They want you to experience that adrenaline rush with them. Try to steer clear of this person. And if you are this person and you can acknowledge that, I could acknowledge I was a bit like that. I come from a long line of overreactors. And so I have to really work on myself. I have a strong muscle built because it's a natural tendency that I have because of the way that I was raised. So I have to work against that. And if you are this person, then I can tell you that cancer is definitely going to boss you around. And I can say that confidently because that was me. And I had to do a lot of work to work through that in my life. You need some mindset habits. You need to build some muscle in the mindset to really work through that. If that is you, if you know that you're the drama queen, right? And at some point, we are all these people. Everything that I've described to you, at some point during our cancer journey, we end up being at least one or more of these people at any given time. So it's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to get slapped on the hand for or the wrist and go, oh, you shouldn't be. What are you doing? Right? It's just something we need to be aware of. It's something we need to pay attention to. It's something that we need to work on so that healing does not get blocked in our effort to keep things amped up, right? To keep the emergency going. I have some people that show up that I talk to and for the first time, and we're in the call and they say things like, well, I'm out of my treatments. I'm out of surgery. You know, I only have to see my doctor like every 6 months and I feel lost. And it's because there was a conditioning to the adrenaline of going through the processes in the medical system. And when that's taken away, we feel like our safety net has somehow been removed and we're free falling. Some of you can resonate with that, I'm sure. Yeah. So at some point, we are all these people, and cancer amplifies our behavior to create these stress responses that are present within each of us during these challenging times. But I want you to remember what I said about your response to worry and why we find it difficult to relax. Remember what I said about that? I'm going to scroll back up in my notes, right? When you're responding to worry, your brain and your body are preparing for action and you're using up nutrients at a high rate to stay alert. But also, when you have a mindset muscle built for these things and you're working on them, they still may arise. But when you have a tool in place to help you not spiral out of control, guess what happens? We get to physically relax, mentally relax, emotionally relax. We don't, although the danger may be present, we created an opportunity for ourselves. And here's what happens when we relax. Our bodies and our brain automatically go into repair mode, into refresh mode, into renew mode. So we give ourselves an opportunity. Our body will actually spend time replenishing depleted nutrients where they're needed because our appetite doesn't get so disrupted. I had one client one time who said, it's my chemo. My chemo is causing so much trouble and I can't eat and it's causing all this digestion issues. And as soon as she got through like 1 or 2 weeks in the program, she was like, I wonder why, like I'm doing the same chemo, but now like my digestion is fine and I feel okay. And I'm like, it's because you're becoming the boss. It's because you're taking control of the situation. It's because you have some tools in place. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're totally right. Because nothing else has changed. But what she realized is that she was conditioned to that stress of treatments. And once she had changed her relationship with that process, then her body started to align to that healing. She was recovering faster and faster between treatments. It strengthens our ability to cope with cancer, to cope with the challenges that we have during this process of a diagnosis or treatments. We break the bad habit of automatic scary thoughts. The thoughts may arise in our subconscious, but they don't linger there. They don't take root. They don't become part of our story. You gain perspective. You gain perspectives and it makes it easier to solve problems because you have an opportunity to get out of emergency mode. I always have a saying, if I'm having a hard time making a decision and somebody's pressing me to make a decision, I say to them, if you have to have an answer right now, the answer is probably no. If I'm not super clear about a decision, now sometimes I'm super clear about a decision. I'm a hard yes. It's so obvious. Yes, that's exactly what I want. Let's do that. Nail on head, right? But it's easier to problem solve when we take a moment to relax, to elevate our mindset, to elevate our heart set, to elevate our mindset, to use the muscles, the resistance. You ditch that helpless feeling because you realize that there is almost always a solution to your problem. But you're allowed that because you're not ping, 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 right? You're like, okay, let's take talk. What's really going on here? What's really happening here? You make an allowance for that in your life. You get to a state of calm awareness. You're aware that there's a problem. You understand that there is a problem, but you're more open to receiving helpful information at that point. And then the last thing, it makes it way, way harder. When you take an opportunity to relax and you don't resist that in an effort to be conditioned to adrenaline, to be a condition to that fight or flight response, you make it way harder for cancer to boss you around, right?